topics, even sometimes very taboo subjects. But again, I always wrote about something that folks could relate to in their everyday lives. And that just sort of stuck. And that just became a part of what I enjoyed doing. And it was also a part of my whole mission to hopefully get people talking about some of the experiences and even some of the issues and problems that they might be dealing with.
So, so do you think that all writing is political then? Is that what you're saying?
Do I think all writing is?
Political? Is that what you're saying?
To some degree. I think to some degree, yes, because I mean, I've talked about everything. And for me, I'm certainly not the person who is writing and preparing for a happy ending, but it's usually a very realistic ending. And when people do bad things, then you see the consequences. But yes, very, very much social, no matter what.
Okay, okay. So tell us about your latest book. Now, this is your latest book. You have two books published in 2020. The latest one is Here and Now. Tell us about Here and Now.
Yes.
Tell us about the characters and just tell us the storyline. Why should we read it?
Yeah, so this particular book, it is about Raquel and Marcella. They're two sisters. And Here and Now is actually the second book I ever wrote, and it was released in 1999 by Kensington Publishing. And it was my very first hardcover that I had issued that was published by the company. So that was obviously a very exciting time and an exciting book for me as well. And so now they have since then been kind enough to re-release a new edition. And so that's the book that you're referring to for 2020. But it's about two sisters who they are very much different. You have the one sister who has a great life, a great husband, lives in the nice home, drives the nice car, all of the above, but she's struggling with infertility issues. And so what she wants more than anything, while she has all of the material goods, she wants to have a child. And that, of course, begins to cause problems with she and her husband in their marriage. And then you have her sister Marcella, who has two beautiful children, but she also is a single mom who's struggling to raise them and trying to make ends meet. And she has children by a father who won't pay his child support and does absolutely nothing for them. And so you just get to see the two different perspectives in terms of how these sisters live their lives and how they try to get to the other side of the problem.
Those two sort of opposite sides.
Marcella, while she loves her children, she would certainly love to have a wonderful husband and a wonderful job and a nice house to live in. And then you have Raquel who's saying, you know what, you should just be grateful that you were able to have these two beautiful children. So they have some tension between them because of that. But then you have the relationship issues. You have Kevin, who is Raquel's husband, who's saying, you know, we tried for a very long time. We need to move on. We have mortgaged our home to pay for infertility treatments. We've spent money over and above what he feels as though they should have felt. And so their marriage is really breaking down in the process. And then you have Marcella who do more, wanting him to spend time with them. And so it's really about troubled relationships as much as it is about their issues with their children.
You know, I tell you why this book calls to me. What calls to me about this book is I can imagine, if you will, that sort of that loneliness that verges on emptiness when she finds that she can't have a child, that she's unable to conceive. And so that's one reason that I asked you about how is it that you write so well. What I find about you is I find that you're very grounded, just
really
as a person, just your personality. Every time I've met you, I've spoken with you. The last time you were at the Harlem Book Fair, we spoke briefly. I remember you there with your husband, and you were just so centered and grounded. And I think that thread kind of runs through all of your books. And I'm still a little bit in awe of how you do that constantly. How do you find your way there as a writer, or how might one find oneself there as a writer?
I think that even if I can't fully relate to the characters or I've not experienced some of what they go through in the storylines, there's still a little bit of me in every single story that I write. And so no matter what, I'm always making sure that I'm writing straight from my heart, and I'm writing with my own voice. I think that has made all the difference for me throughout every single one of the books. So my own faith, my own moral values, my own family values, my own Christian values, those are always intertwined within those storylines. So even if the characters act badly, there's going to have to be some sort of repercussions. You're going to have to reap what you sow. And then there's going to have to be some forgiveness and some redemption. And so I think that has made the difference. That's probably those are the things that I think are consistent in every single story I've written.
That's very good. Yeah, and I tell you that I see it. I see it both in what you've written, and I see it in sort of your way of being. So what's next?
So I've done something very much different. Of course, in the very beginning of my career, I self-published behind closed doors. And then, as you know, the wonderful Paul Coates and Black Classic Press bought the rights to that when my career was just starting out. And fast forward to now writing my very first nonfiction book called The Woman God Created You to Be. I released that independently, decided to self-publish that as well at the end of January. So this has been a new journey, but a very wonderful journey. So I'm really excited about that.
So tell us a little bit more about that. One is, how does an established author with a traditional publishing house, how does one sort of venture out on one's own? Is that a contractual conversation, or is that how does that happen?
So a few years ago, when my attorney was actually negotiating my last couple of contracts, I didn't know, it never dawned on me that I would necessarily write a nonfiction book, but I did ask him to have it entered into my contract that if I ever wanted to do short stories, or if I ever wanted to do a nonfiction book, that I would be able to do that on my own if I chose to. So that had been in my contract for several years. So when it came time, fast forwarding to, okay, wow, God has really laid this on my heart, and I really know this is the book that I have to write next. Then I had mentioned that to my editor. So she was very much aware that I was writing that, and my plan was to submit it to them. But as I kept writing, that's just not the direction that I felt led to go in. And so I made the decision to go ahead and self-publish it, to do it on my own.
And what's the title of that again, please?
It's called The Woman God Created You to Be, Finding Success Through Faith, Spiritually, Personally, and Professionally.
Very good. Is there anything, Kimberla, that you would like our viewers to know about you or about your current book, Here and Now, that you might want to share with them before we close out?
With Here and Now, I'm hoping that readers will pick that up and support that. Also, the ebook, for the very first time, I'll be releasing that in about a week or so. And so, hoping that readers will enjoy it. And then for The Woman God Created You to Be, hope that it will be a blessing to them, that it will help them in some way or another. I've been very, very much transparent in that particular book. Some things that I felt like I did well throughout my life. And I've also talked about the things that I didn't do so well. I talked about things I could have done better. And now I talk about that, and hopefully advising people to maybe not make some of the mistakes that I made. So, just hoping that they will enjoy it.
This is good, especially in this time of reckoning that we're in now.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Kimberla.
Thank you so much, Max. Thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you for all that you do for us, for telling our stories, and we're all looking forward to reading Here and Now. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening to Kimberla Lawson Roby. We'll be back in a second with our next author.
Hi. Oh, he did. 1 minute, Bob.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Lynn Pinder's.
Yes, I'm aware. Not just Lynn Pinder, though. It's Mia Miata. Mia Miata and Lynn Pinder. Okay, do I have potatoes all over me?
No.
Oh, okay. You should have said yes.
But you're still black.
Oh, yeah, and thank God for that.
Good truth is no.
All right, hold on now. And that goes here. And let's see now. Never. But that's no reason to stop me.
All right, well,
Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this.
okay. He's up, yeah.
Okay. Mia Miata is an adjunct professor at Baltimore City Community College in Maryland. Aside from being an experienced artistic director, she is one of the contributing authors to A Heart for GED. Lynn Pinder, instructor, poet, and publisher of Christian-themed books for Take Action, is a consistent participant in the Harlem Book Fair. Between her spirituality and intelligence, her work improves minds and guides souls. It is for that reason we must listen to these sisters converse. Give them the attention they richly deserve.
15 seconds.
And now we will have a moment to listen to these brilliant authors speak.
And you're on for 20. People up? Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
So you don't have to do anything. You got 20 minutes.
Oh, lovely.
There,
That would be a perfect time to eat.
right, and just so you're aware,
Right.
there is a pizza place in the parking lot we're in.
I don't know if I want to leave and come back and do all that.
There's another place that's right when you walk out to the left, but I don't even know what kind of food it is.
Listen, I am prepared. I'm a parent, so you know what I have inside my bag? Granola
Baby
bars. My baby is 28 years of age now. My boy is 28.
Still eating baby food.
Okay, my greatest fear is that he's going to be making some babies soon. No, I have granola bars.
I'm a grandfather, so.
Well, then you know exactly what I'm saying.
Don't bother me one bit.
Is that right? They haven't been rehomed and you're not babysitting all the time?
They live in my house,
Is that right?
both of them,
Is that right?
my daughter and my granddaughter.
My condolences.
Mine too.
Yeah. We're going to be all right. Once this is edited, this is going to be much better. Will matters. Stop being so pessimist.
Well, hello there. You are tuned
familiar
in
with Ken?
to Lynn Pinder. That's my name. I am an educator, an author, an entrepreneur. I'm also the founder of Take Action Publishing. And I am so honored that Take Action Publishing has an opportunity to be part of the 2020 virtual book fair. Wow, what an amazing 2 days of programming we have scheduled for you. And I'm excited to be able to feature some of the works by Take Action Publishing, as well as introduce you to some of our authors. So let me just share a little bit of Take Action Publishing. It is the vehicle that I use to self-publish my books. I am a Christian author. And it's also the vehicle that I use to publish anthologies that really challenge people to think about social issues impacting our world. We've had the honor of coordinating 2 anthology projects. Our most recent project we published is an anthology called A Heart for GED, Instructors Speak. A Heart for GED Instructors Speak is an anthology of short stories, creative essays, and poems. 16 ABE GED instructors from across the nation share funny, inspirational, and scary stories about teaching adult learners in the United States. I'm excited because today joining me is one of the contributing authors of A Heart for GED Instructors. Her name is Mia Johnson. She's not only a contributing author to this anthology project, but she's also one of my colleagues in the field of adult literacy. And it's such an honor to welcome you on the broadcast. Hello, Mia.
Hi, thank you for
You today here viewing with us as part of the 2020 virtual Harlem Book Fair, but we're also honored and blessed to have you as a contributing author to a Hartford GED instructor speak. And so I hoped you would just talk a little bit about who you are, Miata Johnson.
education was always important. My mother is a educator within the Baltimore City public school system for over 40 years. So education has always just been something that's been a part of my life. City Teaching Residency Program, which is a program that is designed for people who do not have education background, who want to teach. So I've taught within the Baltimore City public school system for about 4 years. And then, I did my job. I felt like I was making an impact, but I also felt like, I taught special education and there were labels that were placed on children. But they didn't, they didn't belong with those labels. For example, there might have been a young man in my class, and he just labeled as oppositional defiant, or a young woman who may have been several grade levels behind. And so when you have, especially when we're working in impoverished neighborhoods, there is a disconnect, right? There's a correlation between a parent who can't read, who's struggling, and then we have a child who's struggling, right? And so I made the shift to adult education in about 2009, and I would never, I can't think of doing anything else with my life. I just feel that helping adults has just
Yes,
been the most amazing experience ever. To
yes.
walk into a class, chew on his eye, and say, Miss Me, I can't read. Can you help me? And so people who look like me are taught in the Sandtown, Winchester community, the Freddie Grace community, when the riots were happening, like we were going to class while all of this chaos was going on around us. And that was the safest place where they felt they could come
Yes.
and be productive. Like, I got to get out of this house. Yes, it's all this stuff going around, but I'm coming to class, And so those kind of things, you just make an impact on people's lives, and those things are irreplaceable. You can't equate that to money. You can't equate that to, anything tangible. When you see the light bulb go off in someone's eyes and they finally get it, or when you expose someone, just the exposure to
Yes.
the Pythagorean theorem, or Edgar Allan Poe's Raven, and make that connection. Like our football team is named after this poem, and they make these connections. Like, oh my God! So it's essential.
It is indeed. And so I hoped you would talk a little bit about your submission to the anthology. Give us the title of the submission and give us the backstory if you don't mind.
Sure. I submitted a. You asked me, and and be able to tell the story about this young man who just came into my life and just changed it for so many different reasons. Young man was named Dominique, and the title of the submission is called A Chance Moment. I just kind of give a little backdrop about my story, some of the things I told you about coming into the field and being able to touch people's lives. This particular young man, Dominique, he was killed senselessly in our city, and his death was impacted people came from everywhere to put him, balloons and to candlelight vigils, because he was a young man who was made, statistically he may have fit certain criteria better for his son's life. He wanted to go into the military, and so those things, that hurts. When you see a student one day in class and you're getting on them because they didn't turn in their assignment, and you want the best for them, and the next thing you know, you're getting text messages saying that this young man is dead. And ironically, we're going on a field trip. One of my classes is going on a field trip, and one of the young women said, "Oh, let's meet at the corner of this and this." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's the corner where Dominique was killed." And so when we go on our field trip on Monday, I'm going to take my sage, and I'm just going to consecrate that space, because I knew that was the last place he was.
Yeah.
And ironically, I'm talking about him today, and I'm going to be at that space on Monday. So I don't think any of this is by accident at all.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
we're having, you know, this global uprising. Out of that frustration, it comes healing. Out of that frustration comes love and, you know, togetherness, because we're not going to make it in this world by ourselves. Individually, we're not going to make it. We have to come together collectively.
Absolutely. And just as you mentioned, you know, what a heart-wrenching experience, but it's so real for many of us. We live in Baltimore City, and the statistics show that there's murders, not just one, but multiple, you know, on a daily basis. But despite even that, there's still hope in this city. There's still people like you, Mia, who are working to be sure that some of our most impacted families have the type of support they need to survive. And it is timely. You know, there was a 2019 report by the Able Foundation noting that an estimated 81,000 Baltimore City adults aged 18 and over are last of other poor outcomes for individuals, their families, and the broader community. And I'm sure that Baltimore is just a mirror of many other urban cities across the nation effect, where children of parents with low literacy skills across the nation have a 72% chance of being at the lowest reading levels themselves. These children are more likely to get poor grades, display behavioral problems, have high absentee rates, repeat school years, or even drop out. That's what the studies are saying. So if parents are better educated, then their children will have greater academic success. And we always hear parents are our children's first teachers, right, Mia? We always hear that. But if parents don't have the literacy skills, right, to really be able to support their children, then that's where the problem lies. And that's why it's so imperative for educators like yourself to be in the fight. And so we so appreciate you. So I take my hat off to you, because I so appreciate not just the love that you have for your work, but I appreciate the commitment that you put into doing your work so that it's a quality educational experience. And I just want to share one other statistics. This is a national statistic. It says of adults with the lowest literacy level skills, 43% live in poverty, and 70% of adult welfare recipients have low literacy levels. There is a clear correlation between more education and higher earnings, and between higher educational scores and higher earnings. And so I hope, Mia, that you could just speak to that statistic for us.
Well, let me say this. You know, reading has always been something that has been a passion for me. Math never has been and the fact that I teach math and I struggled my entire life with math, that the creator is using me in that way. Like I just taught a lesson on the Pythagorean theorem last night, and they were getting it. And I was like, oh my God, like I was struggling with it. The fact that I'm being used in that way is just so amazing to me, right?
Yes.
And so reading has always been a passion of mine. You know, like in the 8th grade, I was, you know, testing on like college level for reading, right? And so, you know, when I know I did. I took for granted that people could read. I just did. I just assumed that people could read, you know, and so when you step into that classroom, people don't care education. They don't care about your degrees. They want to know that you care, right?
Yes.
And so I had to learn through this experience that it is not about judgment. You know, it is about love and compassion and empathy, and it's about helping people. So, you know, it's always been like, you know, a fear of people's to read out loud, right?
Yes.
And so I've been working with, you know, students, you know, some of them for years, right? We've had some of the same students for years, and they continue to
Yes.
come. and they continue to get better.
Yeah.
When I had a young woman, right? And I tried to, choose material that I know that may have some challenging words, but I also know that there's some sight words that they could, just like, roll off their tongue.
Yeah.
And so I had to read a paragraph. It wasn't long because, we want to have a certain level of success with what we're doing, right? We don't want to set our students up for failure, right? So I had her read a small passage, and Miss Lynn read it perfectly. And a year ago, she would have been struggling over those sight words. She'd been struggling over those small words, right? And she read it perfectly. And I stopped and I said, TT, let me say something. You've come a long way. Because a year ago, you would have through that passage and you read it perfectly, right? And so it's about confidence building. It's about investing in people, right? Because now TT can have some confidence when her 7-year-old has something that they have to read. And before she couldn't help them, but now she can. You see what I'm saying? And so the statistics are very true, but we have to look beyond those statistics. We have to take those statistics, we have to take that knowledge and that information, this data, this quantitative and qualitative information, and make it meaningful for what we do. And I just want to salute you for putting this anthology together, because let me say this, and I know that this is true. We're shamed sometimes for what we do. Oh, you teach, what do you teach? GED classes, all that education you got, you could be doing. I can do a lot of other things. I know firsthand how important this is. When you see that young man or that young woman or that 80-year-old with that high school diploma that they've been working towards for years, or first generation immigrants who come here, right? And they may have had that credential in their country, but they have to start over because there's a language barrier, right? And see them walk across that stage. It's amazing. It makes all of this that we do worthwhile.
It does.
All of the struggle, it just makes it all worthwhile.
It does. It does. And so I thank you. Your title of your piece in the anthology is called A Chance Moment. And as we're preparing to close out this conversation, which has been wonderful, I want you to talk a little bit about what that chance moment meant to you.
A chance moment meant for me, or means for me, is that had I followed this monetary track, in life, chasing money, right, or looking for the next opportunity to, to have this title behind my name, right, I would never have met Dominique. I would never have the opportunity to stand in front of that young man and to pour into him and have him pour into me. Stand in a classroom and deliver instruction and help people to meet their educational goals and help them meet their life goals, right? I think I named it a chance moment, but it really wasn't. It was divinely orchestrated. The Creator put us together for that particular time, and for that particular season, for a particular reason, right? And even though he's left this earthly plane, he's no longer with us, but the impact that he had in people's lives and the impact that I had in his life, right? And so when I read the article, heartbreaking, in the Baltimore Sun, and someone quoted him that said, I just want to get my high school diploma so that I can go into the military.
Right.
I was like, wow. I had something to do with that, even though he's no longer here. Me being in that classroom with that young man for that small amount of time was helping him toward reaching a larger goal, right? And so he left a son here, right? He has a son left on this planet. So hopefully the impact that his father's had in his life, and maybe the small other's life, will be a positive deposit in that young I do. I have a Facebook page, Mia Miata, Miamiata. You can reach out to me on email me. It's miamiata@gmail.com.
Our speak, and we could really feel your heart today, Mia, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you for allowing me.
Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lynn Pender. I'm with Take Action Publishing.
The romance discussion.
And what time is that?
That'll be at 4:36. Well, but those are the individuals for
And
the.
how long is the pastor on?
Okay. Pastor Stephen L. Turner is an author as well as a professional public servant committed to social justice and equality. He is the founder of Destiny Changers Deliverance Center Incorporated, a new ministry that concentrates on the unloved, undesired, and unappreciated people. His book, The Other Pulpit, explains the power of forgiveness. On the order of a map, the pastor's work provides a spiritual destination for individuals lost in self doubt. So, without a doubt, we at the Harlem Book Fair welcome his words of guidance. Therefore, open your minds and hearts to Pastor Turner. He's an incredible individual, and we're looking forward to hearing from him. He will be with us very soon. Be prepared for a truly spiritual, uplifting experience. The pastor will be with us very soon. In the meantime, I just want to say, although the program has experienced a few minor difficulties, we are in fact doing this all for you with great passion, with great love. We appreciate you, the readers, the viewers. The Harlem Book Fair relies upon you, and we will do everything possible to continue this program during the pandemic and after the pandemic. So, in spite of a few setbacks, the program continues. And we can thank Max Rodriguez for that. He is a tireless supporter of the arts. Without him, a lot of these writers would not be known. The Harlem Book Fair, without a doubt, is truly an important source of information. Essentially, it's an oasis in a desert. I just want to iterate something I had said earlier. As we all understand, Harlem dealt with hardship over many decades. Nonetheless, from those problems, art, poetry, music, and plays rose like high rises. Even now, amidst national strife and a global pandemic, Harlem maintains the sturdiness of concrete. Out of this trying time, a new age of creativity flourishes. Once again, Max Rodriguez is here to make everybody know that words and images matter in New York and the far reaches of the whole world. Before we proceed with the rest of our program via the internet, thank Max and the Harlem Book Fair team with emojis and text messages. Tell these meritorious brothers and sisters how much we appreciate them for this yearly event. And there is so much to appreciate. For instance, throughout this program, you will see more authors. They assembled a lot of brilliant authors. That assemblage continues later when we premiere a show called Spoken at Night, a poetry reading for those who want entertainment and enlightenment. Let's not forget the I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling, and have the opportunity to read whatever we want. All this information